Hey, what's up, guys? It's Jordan with the Laundromat Resource Podcast. This is show 165, and I'm double pumped that you are here today because today on the show, we've got two of my favorite people, Donnell and Tara Wright, and we jump into their business. This is a very cool episode for me because we talked maybe a couple of years ago when they were first starting to look for their first laundromat, and we've done some consulting over the last couple of years, and they're coming to share about their experience about buying their first laundromat and what it's been like running it up to this point. Super duper cool episode. They are living the dream that so many people, probably so many of you, are hoping to achieve with laundromat ownership, right? Is trying to get that freedom in their lives. And that's what they're doing right now. So it's a very cool episode. A lot of practical stuff in there as well. As always, I know you're going to love it. And real quick, before we jump into it, today's fast lane tip is, listen, mastermind groups are launching again on August 14th. I mentioned it last week. I just want to mention it one more time because this has been a huge hit for a ton of pro community members. And so if that's something you're interested in, being in a group that meets at a regular interval to talk all things laundry, all things business, you need some encouragement, some accountability, some brain trust to solve problems that you're dealing with so that you're not doing this thing all on your own. I truly believe mastermind groups help you go farther, faster. That is, I'm willing to put my stamp on there. That is what will happen if you join a mastermind group. You'll be able to go farther, faster. So if that's something you're interested in, check out laundromatresource.com/pro. That is included in the pro community. And you get everything else involved with the pro community, but that is coming up August 14th. We're launching our newest batch of mastermind groups. So come join that if that's something that interests you. And that is for wherever you're at on the journey, whether you're trying to buy your first laundromat or you already own one or multiple laundromats. We'll get you in a mastermind group with some people that are along the same journey as you. All right. Without further ado, let's jump into it with the Wrights because this is an awesome episode and you're going to love it. And I know you're going to love them just like I do. All right, listen, I have been looking forward to this particular episode since January 26th, 2022, when we had our first consulting call. Yes. I'm super excited to have you guys on. How are you guys doing today?
We're fantastic.
Fabulous. We're stoked to talk to the community today. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. It has been a long time coming to be on this podcast. So
That's right. It has. And I mean, it's cool. We've done some, calls and so I've gotten to know you guys that way, but we also got to meet in person at the Laundromat Millionaire Conference, which was awesome. Yes. So this is cool, man. I'm very excited about this because I know a little bit of the journey that you've been on that you're going to share today. And it's a good one. And also, I just like you guys. And
hey, thanks.
We always have a good time together. So yeah.
We like you too.
Awesome. Well, I know we're acquainted, but not everybody is. So why don't you start with giving us a little bit of background of who you guys are, and let's weave that story into you owning a laundromat.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Ladies first.
Ladies first. Sure. So I am Tahra Wright. I live in New Jersey with my husband, and we have 3 children, 2 of whom are still at home. My background actually is I am an attorney. I'm still practicing attorney. I'm a partner at a law firm in New York City. I do that commute to New York City 3 times a week. And the other times I'm either with the kids, running them around. We've been involved in real estate for a number of years. So we have real estate properties that I manage. And now, of course, we have the laundromat, which I am the pro bono volunteer director of marketing for.
And I'm done pro bono work. So if anybody's looking for marketing, I got a pro bono attorney marketer for everybody. Attorney. Just reach out. She'll do it for everybody for free.
Yeah, right.
She does do a fabulous job for us here at the laundromat. So I'm very grateful that she's doing it. My name is Donnell Wright. Of course, I'm her husband. My background is I've been a telecom engineer for over 20 plus years. I actually left that career about a year ago to solely dedicate myself to the laundromat business. I am the face, the presence here in the laundromat every day. In addition to my engineering background, I grew up with a long line of builders, contractors. My uncles were all builders. So a very young age, I was building houses, roofs, framing, and stuff like that. So that kind of lends to our real estate that we have as well in our portfolio. Funny enough, I got my lovely wife when we first met into real estate. So real estate is one of our passions. And like I said, now laundromats is the other. So I spend my time doing that as well as running around with my 16-year-old with soccer and track. So we enjoy doing that.
That's awesome. And first of all, congrats on leaving your job and going to laundromats. That was the goal 2.5 years ago when we first talked. You're like, my goal is to get out of my job and have laundromats help me do that, which is the goal of a lot of people listening who don't have laundromats yet. So truly inspiring and exciting to hear that you've actually done that. So let's talk about how did you guys do that? Why? First of all, you do real estate, which, obviously I love real estate and laundromats. So, we're peas in a pod. I mean, you guys are, lawyer and engineer and, I'm over here. Nothing really. I'm doing nothing really. So, you're above there, but we're both like the real estate and the laundromat thing. We got that going on too. So, which I love. But why laundromats? What attracted you guys to that path?
Tara, I think you have a good frame.
Yeah, I can kind of give, how we got here. I mean, for us initially, we love real estate. We still own a number of rental properties. We have actually one property we use as an Airbnb that we short-term rental that we manage ourselves. And we've been in that since, Donnell, as I said, he introduced me to real estate. Actually, the funny story, when we first met, I was living in a condo building. And I was thinking about purchasing it because I was renting at the time. And Donnell and I were first going out. We were going out for we were on a date and we were walking and talking. I said, I think I might try to buy this condo in this building. And he said to me, why would you buy a condo? Why don't you think about buying a 2-family home? And I looked at him and I was like, what's a 2-family house? I literally had no idea what that was. And this is 20 something years later, I can still remember his face was like, who is this chick? Where is she from? How
Sally
could she not?
From the Valley.
Yes, I'm from the Valley. I'm from the boondocks of New York, right? So of course now I'm very fully aware what a 2-family home is. And that actually was what I ended up buying. As opposed to the condo, I found a 2-family home. I lived in one unit, rented the other, and that sort of began my entry into real estate. And then since that time, together we've owned 2 families. We owned an 18-unit building at one point in time. We flipped homes for a good 3 years up until COVID hit. We were private money lending. We're doing all sorts of things in real estate. But the goal for real estate for us, and this is what Donnell introduced me to, was the idea that it would supplement your income and then eventually could lead to financial freedom, right? And which gives you the opportunity to do whatever you might want to do. Whether you want to still work in corporate, whether you want to just have this as additional cash, you'd have that freedom. And so what we found in real estate, as many people do find, is that, when you're professionals and you're working in New York City, a major metropolitan area, the real estate that we were collecting, the small 2-family, 3 families, after cash flow, they were not replacing an income. Not even one, never mind both. Yeah. And so we found that as much as we loved it, it wasn't going to be, the path for us to actually hit financial freedom.
Not at the time we wanted to.
Yeah, which was years ago, of course. Yeah. And then you have a family and kids, and then it all goes out the window. So that was sort of part of it. So we kept thinking about, what is it that we could do? And honestly, laundromats wasn't on our radar at all. We thought we'd delve right into more investing. That didn't happen. And then got crazy for me during COVID at work. Got very, very busy because the stock market went crazy. And my line of work is sort of linked to the stock market. And so I ended up taking a sabbatical for a few months because I was just burned out, just couldn't manage it. I was working like 19-hour days. And Donnell and I, years ago, we began drop-off laundry.
Yeah.
So when probably back in about 2016, 2017, all the kids were home. Laundry was crazy. And I had driven past a laundromat that was like local to us. And I saw this thing that said like wash, dry, fold. And I'm like, oh, that's a thing. And so Donnell was the one who's always doing the laundry at home, not me.
Mr. Mom.
So I said to him, I was like, there's a wash, dry, fold place in the next town over. Just start bringing the laundry there and doing it. And then come to find out the place I told him to go to was not where he went. He went to some other place. I was like, what is that? Where's that place? He found some other place he went to.
He is his own man. You can't tell him what to do. He is his own man.
When I get in my car, I make my own decisions. When I'm home.
I was like, I don't know where you went, but okay. And he had sent me to go pick up the laundry one day. And this is probably 2017. Yeah. And I walked in and to pick it up. And I saw there was like this cute picture of this couple up on the wall. And it was under new ownership. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so cute. Their little picture. They bought a laundromat. Like, that's so interesting. And I never thought about it again. And then 2021, I have this break from work. It's summertime. So I'm like super happy. And I go in to pick up the laundry that day. And literally I walk in there and I look around and I'm like, we should buy a laundromat. And I walk out and I text Donnell, and right away he's like, no.
He is his own man.
I was in my car. I'm going to make my own decision.
No, just no. And so, we've been together for a long time. So I know with my husband, I have to sort of feed him things a little bit at a time over time.
Got that engineering mind. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And so then when he gets to the point where it clicks for him, then there's no stopping him. Then he's like gung ho. He is like Mr. He's like Mr. Execute. I execute. That's all I do. And then I can't
execution.
And I can't slow him down, which becomes a little bit crazy as well. So, and that's basically what happened. I was like, I'm going to research everything I can on this about the laundromat industry. And so the first thing I started to do was just look at all of these podcasts and start to see who they had on a podcast who could tell me about the laundromat industry. So I'm on like, whatever it is, iTunes, searching for everything. And then I noticed and I find out that, oh my gosh, sorry. We're at the laundromat. So somebody's not sure, although we're closed on Wednesdays. So I started searching through all these things, and I happened to find, of course, a Bigger Pockets podcast. As you know, Bigger Pockets, huge in real estate. So I'd always followed them for a long time. But at one time, they had Bigger Pockets Money, which was the pocket. Bigger Pockets Business.
Business, yeah.
Yes. And I started searching through all the episodes, and I find Dave Menz on the Bigger Pockets Business. And I'm like, I found someone in laundry. And so I listened to that entire podcast, and that's how I found initially Dave Menz, Laundromat Millionaire. So now I'm like scouring all his stuff, all of his podcast episodes. I'm on his website, and that's when I find you because you were on one of his first podcasts.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, oh, this is all. So now
you found the good stuff. You found the good stuff finally. It took you a little while, but yeah. I promise. I made fun of Dave a couple episodes ago from being about being from Ohio, and then I told him, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that, and I won't make fun of you anymore. And here I am. I just can't help it.
You can't help yourself. It's sorry, like
Dave.
ingrained in you.
Yeah, that's right.
It's all good.
But it was because of Dave.
Yes, because of Dave.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you,
Dave Metz.
Yes.
And then so when I found you and your webinars, I was listening to every webinar I could, all the podcasts. I found the CLA, began like researching and reading. And it's funny because it was, there was an episode, and I won't remember the gentleman's name, but he was an engineer. He had left Microsoft to go build his own laundromat. I think he was in Washington State. I believe so. And I said to myself, okay, this episode of an engineer leaving corporate to go into the laundromat industry, this is one that dined out. Bingo. I was like, oh my, it's like heaven sent.
There's the domino you've been looking for.
That's right. So I shared that episode with Donnell, kind of piqued his interest a little bit more. And I kept doing my research. And I think sometime in the fall of 2021 was also when I think Dave released his book. Or began maybe pre-sale on his book. And so I ordered 2 copies of his book. So it would come to us. And then eventually I spoke to also someone else who's on your podcast, John Dixon, JD.
Yep, JD Dixon, yeah.
For whatever reason, I know, at the podcast, you always tell people, reach out. How can they reach out to you or find you or whatever? And for whatever reason, I said, I'm going to reach out to him. And I remember it probably was early in 2022. I was sitting like in the parking lot because my kids had a dentist appointment, but I was like, I got to fit this in whenever I can. And they're in the dentist. I'm in the parking lot. I'm on the phone with JD and I'm just telling him what we want to do and working through things. And we leave off and he's like, you need to find a great distributor in your area. And I said, well, how will I know if they're great? And he said, look at their websites. Once you go through their websites, it's like you will know right away whether someone is like great or not. And so that's what I did. At this point in time, Donnell still was not on board. I was still feeding him stuff here and there. He was kind of getting there. Because I think by that time maybe we spoke to you. So he was like, all right, let's see what we can do.
Maybe.
I'm not sure. I went on to all of the websites within our area. Like I said, we're in New Jersey, so we're tri-state area, New York City, everything is close to us. And I found a number of websites, but only one had a section where you actually, if you're an investor, could, submit your name and someone would contact you if you had interest in opening or building a laundromat. And that was Metropolitan Laundry. And they were based in Queens and in New York. And I put my information in. And within 2 days, I had the sales representative for the area reach out to me. And his name is Cliff Ross. I'm going to give him a shout out here.
Shout out to Cliff.
Shout out to Cliff from Metropolitan because he is the man. He was phenomenal. What a great guide and mentor. And the funny thing about it, although I don't believe in coincidences, is that when I was talking to Cliff, telling him like what we were looking for, where we were looking, and he says to me, well, so where are you looking? I said, we're looking in like our county. And he said, where do you live? I said, we live in Westfield. He said, so do I. I was like, what? He literally lives in our town and has been there for a number of years. And then to make things better, he was not only like a sales rep for the distributor, he actually had owned laundromats 2 towns over for a number of years as well. So he really understood the industry. And then from like that point on, he was phenomenal, telling us different laundromats to go to just to get an idea of what, being in the business would be like. And also those where he felt like, well, maybe they might be open to selling. And so we spoke with him before we went to the Laundromat Millionaire Conference.
Correct.
And then we went that week and we met all of these folks from Alliance.
Yeah.
And they all knew Cliff. So by the time we came back to Jersey to meet with Cliff again, he's like, I know all about you two. Yeah. The Alliance folks reached out to me. They were like telling me about you guys. He's like, I'm happy to work with you. What can we do? And so he's the one who told us about, our current location. This was, I want to say March of 2020. 2022.
Right.
He knew that the current owner was looking to retire. He had sold him equipment about 15 years prior when he bought the business. And he said, I know him very well. I want you go over there, introduce yourself, and I'll also text him and let him know you're interested and that I'm recommending that he highly consider selling to the two of you. And then that began our year and a half long journey. Courtship with the owner of the laundromat at that time, which was fun. So that's how he initially kind of got to the point, got here, and then began that process.
Well, we did a call or two in there when you were kind of waiting, and you're like, this guy is like, I don't know if we have to move on. And I was going through our notes from our calls before, and I was like, oh my gosh, I remember all this saga that was going through.
Yeah, Tara was ready to move on because initially, when we first approached him, Tara was, I encouraged her to be the one to go in to speak to him a couple times a week.
He thought my feminine wilds would win the guy over.
I didn't want to say that, but yeah.
I don't think my feminine wilds are working with him.
Yeah. Guess what though? You own the laundromat now, so I don't know.
Yeah, she was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not going in to speak to him anymore. And meanwhile, we were still going out looking at all these other laundromats, and the prices was 6, 7, 8x the price, crazy. And the location. They had no parking. So every time I would go out to see one of those, I would come back by here. And it's like, I can't give up on this. And so more or less the baton got passed to me.
Oh, yeah, because I was
start going into.
Showed a little leg and got the deal done.
Show a little leg.
Show a little leg.
And what happened too is that it was every week, go see him, to the point where it was a burden for me to do it. And this had been going on from March until December of 2022. And then I was just like, look, you're the one who wants out of corporate, not me. This is your show. You go in there and you get him to sell you the laundromat. I was done with him.
So
you created that monster. I just want to point that out. So.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. That's right.
Right? Don't point that out.
She kept feeding me those cookies, right?
That's right. That's
right. That didn't happen. But then he went nuts over it.
I did. I went nuts. I started to come visit him at least 2-3 times a week. He was a little temperamental, so I got to understand what his temperament was. There was days where I would come here and he would be very welcoming.
Oh, yeah.
There were days when I would come in the door and I could look at his eyes and tell that he just didn't want to be bothered. And I just say, hi, see you later. Just came in to see how you were doing. And I would leave and I would come back the next day. He would be fine and we would chat about it. And he would say, oh, you're still going to buy my laundromat, right? I was like, yes.
You still going to sell it? Yeah.
Yeah. Right. You still going to sell it. So I think there, the one thing I want to point out there, persistence does pay.
Oh gosh, yes.
So we just stay very persistent with him.
And also stayed open to other opportunities. Because I know when we spoke with you and we're just like, is there anything else that we can do to try to move this along? You were throwing out ideas to us, part of it was also look, we know we're not giving up on anything else that's out there because we were still going out to visit laundromats. Cliff was giving us some suggestions. We were in all the regular places you go to look for laundromats and driving around and brokers and the whole thing. So we kept doing that in the background. And we also were in the middle, actually that summer, of this huge renovation project on our Airbnb. So I was like, if it doesn't happen now, it's actually okay because I need Donnell focused on finishing off this renovation and getting this short-term rental on the market. So things always happen for a reason and timing is always what it's supposed to be. At least when you look back on it, you can say this all went according to plan. And so that's kind of what happened. Because once I tell you, so Mr. Kim is his name. Mr. Kim would always say to me when I come in, he'd always ask, do you still want to buy the laundromat? And I'd say, yes, Mr. Kim, we still do. And he'd always ask, who's going to run it? Who's going to be here? And I say, my husband is going to be the one to be here because Mr. Kim was here every day. So, our laundromat is open 6 days a week. Even during the time Mr. Kim was here, he was always closed on Wednesdays. And I think part of it was that, as you know, in the industry, Wednesdays tend to be slower days in the industry. So I'm sure that was part of it. And also, Mr. Kim was 78, 79 years old. And he was the one opening every morning for 7 a.m., 7:30 and staying until close, even when the attendant was here. Right. So he also just needed a break. He said, I just rest on my Wednesdays. So it was a lot. It was grueling on him. So I'd say, yes, my husband will be here. He'll be the one here every day. So he'd always ask that. But I think come like January of 2023, when I was like, I'm done going in there, and Donnell began coming in. I think for Mr. Kim as well, that finally sealed the deal where, okay, I know it's not just her coming in. He's going to be the one to be here. He's going to be one to the face. And he was always very concerned about his customers. Yeah. His customer, there could be just two people in here, but he's like, my customers. So, and there really were only two people in here at the time. How goes down? People like the customers. So he really did care about his regulars and about the business. And for him, he was retiring. He'd been doing this for the last 20 years of his life. So
yeah, I think it was us reassuring him that we were going to take good care of the customers. Yeah. As well as the attendant he had working for him for 15 years, right? Yes. So that was another one of his concerns, is he wanted to make sure that we were going to keep her on board and that, we were going to take care of the customers. And I think once we reassured him of that, he was more comfortable to go ahead and get it done. Yeah. So
I want to just pause for a second, because there's a couple takeaways that I at least am taking away that I want to just kind of point out. One is, it's interesting, and I've been learning this a lot in my own life lately. So it's kind of interesting that that you said this idea of coming and getting a laundromat came to you when you were on this break from work. You had a little space in your life. You made some space in your life. And I've been just realizing, I don't know if it's because I'm old now or what the deal is, but I've just been realizing. What do you mean, yeah?
No.
I'm just kidding.
You're old. We're older.
Yeah.
Trust us. Yeah. Our oldest is 27. So we're much older.
No, but I don't know if it's because I'm older, I'm getting older or whatever, or I just kind of stumbled on this or whatever. But I've just found that when I make time in my life, it actually gives me more than when I jam pack my life with things to do. And opportunities happen that way. I've just found that. I don't know if it's some magic formula, whatever it is. So it's just interesting that you pointed out, I was burned out. I was taking a break from work. I was on a sabbatical, and this idea just came to me, ran out of the blue. And I wanted to highlight that I think it's so important to intentionally create space, go for a walk and leave your phone and headphones and all that, create space. There's, I think of on Reddit, which is a forum website or whatever, they have a subreddit or a forum called Shower Thoughts, right? And it's epiphanies people have or in the showers. And I'm the shower is one of the only places that we get space. We don't have something bombarding us like a phone or a TV or music or anything. And that's why people have epiphanies in the shower, right? That's why it happens, because you have space. So be intentional about that. So I wanted to point that out. There was another thing that you were saying that I really wanted to comment on, which I will comment on in a second when it comes back to me.
Once you remember it.
I know. But we talked about getting old and all that stuff.
Yeah, no, I get it.
No, but this, the story of kind of that, path that you take. It's always interesting for me to hear that the story, because this is such a weird little industry, and I'm how does an engineer and an attorney end up owning a laundromat? One question I had is, Donnell, for you, where in that narrative did that switch flip for you? Where you're okay, I'm in?
when I was away.
It was, yeah, I think Tara went on a retreat with some of her girlfriends.
Space in your life again, you know.
Hey,
nothing gives you space like the wife leaving.
I was on my yoga retreat.
She went on her yoga retreat, and I was just having a really tough time at the job that I was at the time. I took a new position during COVID. I had been at a company for 20 years, and I don't know if it was a midlife crisis or whatever, but a buddy of mine called me up, started a new division at this company, and wanted me to come over to help. And I did, but I realized quickly that I made a huge mistake. And
we tried to warn him. Our oldest son and the little bit of time I had during COVID, we were like, big mistake, don't do it. I was like, I have no time for you. I'm out.
Yeah, but that's when she also was working 30 hours a day, and she was crying every day, and she really didn't give me the advice that I needed. So she wasn't there for me. so I think it was that I was just miserable getting up every morning. I was depressed. I didn't want to get out of bed. It was just like really bad. Like, you know, I found myself going to the kitchen cooking, and I have a bar next to the kitchen, and I found myself drinking every day. So it was like really bad. So Tara had been, like she said, feeding me the laundromat stuff over time. And I guess when she went away, the Dave Mins book was there. And one night I read the entire book. Right. And that's what made it click for me. Just kind of like going through reading Dave's book and looking at his journey. And then I was like, wow, I can do this. Like, we can do this. And then I just got like, you know, once I go in, right? Once I'm locked in, I'm like a pit bull on something, and there's no releasing until, you know, we get to where we want to be. And so like she was gone, and I think I went to all of the laundromats in the tri-state area, and I was texting her and trying to call her. Meanwhile, she was on a retreat. She wasn't responding. I'm like, what's up? Where you at?
Stop blowing
I just went here. So I think that was the moment where it all changed for me, right? Like really realizing like this could actually replace, you know, my income from corporate. And yeah, that's when I was locked in. Yeah. That was the point that made it happen for me.
And one of the things Donnell had always, you know, I knew he always wanted to be able to run and own his own business. We had talked about it for years. We thought it would be real estate, because as I mentioned to you, real estate was not going to be the key for us to financial freedom and to leave the rat race. Who knew it would be, you know, the laundromat business? I mean, that never could have imagined that a million years, you know, 5-6 years ago. But I think what also helped is that we had, by that time, I listened to so many podcasts. I'd read so much stuff. He was on board listening to podcasts, that we saw that we could make it something special, right? It didn't just have to be a laundromat that was sort of utilitarian and just functional, right? You could make it a space where you'd actually enjoy coming here. So customers could enjoy it, but you could enjoy being here and running it and being a part of it, and a part of the community. And that's something for us, the community element, you know, because of the kind of work that we do as professionals, you lose that a lot, right? Working with clients, working, you know, with big transactions and these like Fortune 500 companies, you lose the entire sense of community and doing something more for people when everything's just so transactional. And we are community-focused people. We're family-focused people. And so we were kind of missing out on that within our professions. And so to us, it was like, oh, this could be something where it's ours, it's our business. We can do whatever we want with it. It can be something to eventually replace income. But we also can just really dig into the community nature of this and really be part of, you know, what's going on here. So all of that was just so exciting for us.
Part of it. Like for me, like I get my energy from people, right? My entire career, most of it, I've been a sales engineer, right? So that's basically, I had a book of clients, and, you know, I would basically do designs for them. I would go out and do presentations, and I would go out to lunch, golf, you know, whatever, dinners. So I enjoyed that aspect of it. But like I said, the last few years being in corporate, I took a different job, which was back office, and I wasn't customer facing anymore. And I think that's what put me into the state that I was in, right? Because I wasn't touching people every day. I wasn't talking to customers every day. So I wasn't getting the energy that I needed to keep me recharged. So I was no longer fulfilled, right? So if you're in a place where you're no longer fulfilled, you need to think about changing that, right? So that's really what made me really look at the laundry industry as being something that could get me back to a place where I can become re-energized, right?
Because I was what I wanted was I wanted to find the laundromat that was already attended so he could keep his job or find a new job, and then we just be able to like come in and check in. So it took a lot for me when he was like, "Oh no, I'm out. I'm going to be in the laundromat all the time," and I was like, "I don't know how we're going to do this." But it's just been, it's been phenomenal.
She worries a little bit more than I do.
I do.
I don't. Like I said, even like with us taking this over, and we didn't intend to do all the renovations that we've done, but you can remember when she said, "Once I go in, I go in." And like for me, like I know like we have a ton of real estate and things like that. I know we have the means. Whereas if we need to sell off some real estate because I'm not in corporate getting that big check anymore, and we still need to build this business up to bring in the revenues that we are so accustomed to, then we just sell some real estate off, and then we live on that until we get the business to where we need it to be. Because I know we will, right? So that's why I don't worry as much as Tara does.
I worry for everyone. That's my job. I think
every couple needs one, somebody who's really to a fault, not worried about anything, and somebody who's to a fault, worried about everything. So yeah.
That's what you got.
That's what we got. We got that going over here too. I'm like, I don't know, whatever. Like we lose everything. We'll just start over. My wife's like, what?
Like,
right. Like if that is just not an option.
It's like sometimes I don't even tell her like things I buy here at the laundromat because I don't want to hear her mouth. Like, I'm just doing it, and we'll talk about that a little bit more because I brought a van and she's like, "Don't buy a van. We can't afford it."
If we go to the van discussion, like,
I'm buying a van.
All right, I'll leave the room and let you two duke it out. I'll be recording it, so
we will duke that
out. Yeah. Okay, I remembered while you were talking the other lesson I wanted to pull out. I mean, and this is something that I think is more applicable today than ever before. And it's, one of the things I've been saying a lot in my webinars on like how to buy a laundromat. One of the struggles right now is actually finding laundromats that are for sale and finding, deals and getting brokers to call you back and stuff like that. Like it's really difficult to do that. But the thing that I think you did well is, I have this philosophy I share, which is, when it comes to finding a laundromat, if it's something that you can do sitting at home on the couch in your underwear, then anybody can do it. And in this market, it's probably not going to work. You're probably going to have a hard time finding something, right? And like going to that laundromat every day for like a year or more, a year and a half, right? And building that relationship with Mr. Kim and staying in touch, like that was a lot of work and effort, but that's what it took for you guys to get that deal. Now, hopefully it doesn't take that long for everybody, right? But if it does, like you've got to do what you've got to do, right? And nobody else was going to get that laundromat. It was going to be you when the time came, right?
I went to the bakery. I got bakery treats. I brought them in at times. It didn't matter. We were gonna get it. Win them over. Do whatever it took to get it, right?
So we felt like we know he's going to sell. And it's going to be to us. We're going to be at the forefront of that. We're going to be the ones on his mind or whatever. And when we come in, we wouldn't come in just talk about laundry. We just ask him like how he's doing, about his family, kids, grandkids. Like we get to sort of understand more about him and even about what his life was like before the laundromat.
Yeah.
Right. So we got to really, know him. So I think that certainly helped in the process. We weren't just coming in to make it a transaction. Right. Yeah. I think that's really important when you're dealing with someone where this is their livelihood. And then for him, he was retiring from it. So now he's going into a life that was going to be very different. So I think it helps.
I think the one key thing for people to remember as you're looking for laundromats is if you go in the first time, you even go in the second, the third time, the person might not be ready then, but maybe you go to the fourth or fifth. People's situation tend to change at different times, right? He may say he didn't want to sell, last year, but maybe a year and a month, he's ready for whatever reason. Some life event happened. Now he's ready to sell, but he can't remember who the person who came in. But if you're front and center, you're there regularly. Now when you come in, he's like, yes, I need to sell. Yeah. So just stay persistent.
Yeah. He wasn't forgetting you. That's for sure.
No.
There was no way.
No.
Well, which brings up another philosophy I like to share in those webinars, which is when it comes to interpersonal relationships, no means no, right? Somebody tells you no means no. But when it comes to business and negotiations, no doesn't always mean no. It could mean I'm not ready yet, right? Yes. It could mean I'm not sure what you're talking about. It could mean a whole lot of different things, or I'm not sure about you, or I don't trust you, or it could mean a lot of things, right?
Absolutely.
And so that persistence it really is key, and especially in today's market. I mean, like if you're out there trying to get your first laundromat and brokers aren't calling you back, or owners have unrealistic expectations, or whatever it is, stay persistent. Because like you said, he wasn't selling that sucker to anyone else, or if he did, you were getting first crack at it, right?
Correct. And it's funny because when we did purchase and close, and one of the first weeks that we were in here, we were meeting some regular customers. They were shocked that he sold it. And someone said to us, there was a gentleman coming here from Brooklyn, New York, like an hour or so away. She said he would come here every Saturday. He'd come in and ask if he was going to sell, and Mr. Kim would tell him no and shoo him out the door every day. Yeah. He said, she was like, I'm just shocked that you guys are here. And he actually finally sold. Yeah. So it's even just a matter of how you approach people, right? And especially when they're older people, like you just need to have the right approach with them, I think, as well. It can't just be a financial transaction. No. It has to be like, no, I'm really, I want to get to know you. Yeah. At least for us, that worked in our market. Yeah. So.
And it didn't hurt that Donnell's best characteristic is his upper thigh. So when he showed that leg.
Yeah.
That's still the deal.
That's still the
deal. Oh my gosh.
All right. So when you guys finally took, tell us about this laundromat a little bit. When you took over, what kind of condition was it in? Tell us about the transaction a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, I'll start with this before Donnell gets his thoughts together. So as I mentioned, the laundromat, I don't know how long, was always closed on Wednesdays. So it was imperative to us that we were going to close on the sale on a Wednesday morning, because we had a commercial cleaning crew at the door waiting to come in here the moment that we said it's official. Yeah. Because the place, and I don't know if it was maybe just during I really can't tell you, but it just needed, more than a deep cleaning. And they were here for over 10 hours that day.
It was a 3-part series of cleaning, just because of how much dust had been caked up everywhere, right? Even on the soap, the product soap bottles that were up on shelves and stuff. So it was pretty bad, right? So it was the aspect of the deep cleaning that needed to take place, right? We wanted to, because we closed on the Wednesday, then the store was closed on a Wednesday, and we couldn't afford to close the store for a week because the bills needed to be paid. Mm-hmm. We wanted to make an initial impact to clean the store that Wednesday and be back open that Thursday morning, which we did. But then the cleaning crew we had scheduled to come back 2 other times to kind of finish the work. But they had did some good cleaning, as well as they waxed the floors, which made an initial good impression when we opened the store Thursday morning. But that doesn't talk about the machines that were out of order, right? So it was more than half the machines, and we have 28 washers and 28 dryers in the store. More than half the equipment did not work, right? So it was to a point where we didn't even realize how the store was functioning, but it was functioning. And the machines that didn't work, he actually had articles of clothing in them. So people assumed that maybe somebody else was using the machines. They didn't really know that they were out of order, right?
There's a pro tip for all you zombie mat owners.
Yeah.
Don't put out of order signs, just leave clothes in.
Yeah, just leave clothes in there.
That's smart. Mr. Kim, say what you will, but that's genius.
And here's the funny part about that is that Wednesday, Mr. Kim came back to the laundromat with us, and he came in here. He still had stuff all over his desk, like all his personal stuff was still in the laundromat. And Donnell had ordered these out of order signs, and I had a big stack of them on the counter. And Mr. Kim was looking at whatever we did, he was looking at it. He said, "What's that?" I said, "Those are the out of order signs." He said, "You don't need that." I said, "Yes, we do, Mr. Kim." And then Donnell proceeded to have Mr. Kim. They took a bucket. So we're coin operated solely right now, a bucket of quarters. And he had him go through every single machine to see what worked, what didn't work. And if it didn't work, an out of order sign went on it. Right. And although it was very frustrating, at least to see all those out of order signs, I think the customers actually appreciated it.
Yeah.
Because now it wasn't about like we're trying to hide something or whatnot, as we were being very transparent. Like there's a lot of work for us to do coming in here. So give us a little bit of grace to be able to manage through that process.
Yeah. So it was a lot. As she said, it was a lot of out of order signs, but I think, the customers appreciated knowing which machines didn't work. But we also had ready a technician that was going to come and work with us 2-3 times a week just to work on those machines to get them ready. And the first machines that we worked on the washers that we can get up and going. Like I said, we had 28 washers. We determined that 7 washers could not be repaired or just wasn't worth being repaired.
Yeah.
So we immediately had consultation with Cliff just to get pricing on replacing those 7, which we actually did. And then all the others could be repaired. So we just had a schedule to actually get all those repaired. So it probably took us a good 2.
So we bought it in September.
Yeah.
Bought it in September. By the end of November, the 7 new machines came in.
Yeah.
So I'd say by December, so all the washing machines.
All the washing machines were working.
Working.
By that time.
And that's also just one thing to keep in mind is that we didn't come into the laundromat having closed, not knowing what didn't work. We brought the inspector in as part of our due diligence to go through everything, to let us know what didn't work, what could be fixed, what might need a new part, what had to be, whatever it was. So we already had an idea of that when we closed, what we'd have to do and sort of the timing of when things would get done. I will say it was my hope that the 7 machines that didn't work could have at least been repaired. Because when Donnell came back to me and was like, those are either, it was this, beyond repair, or if they repaired them, they'd be back every 3 weeks having to fix it. And then there are parts that just wouldn't be able to get in. And so and then he's like, we have to buy 7 new machines. And I was like, here we go. Here goes Donnell spending money left and right. Are you sure we can't sell? And
when I go in, right? And those 7 machines were Continental machines, right? So all my other machines in the store were Hipsch machines.
Yeah.
The Continental machines that I deemed couldn't be repaired were here when Mr. Kim came. Those are the only machines he didn't replace. Yeah. All the other machines he replaced 15 years ago. So with the tune-ups and refurbishment that we were able to do, I was reassured that those can go a lot longer for us, right? So that's why the decision was made to swap out those 7 to get 7 new Hipsch machines in, which we did. Yeah. Which I think was a great decision.
I think it was a great decision. It allowed us also to bring in, you can talk about the kind of like equipment mix. It allowed us to bring in 2 new 60-pounders. So we'd have 4 overall, and the 2 brand new ones went in the very front of the store. So now everyone was seeing those brand new machines coming in. And we tried to make it fun, like on social media. It was like the hype. I had all the hype leading up to the new shiny new machines coming in. when they first came in, they're out on the sidewalk. And so we had video and the whole thing, and like the whole new concept, like drive-by laundry, drop it off. Like it was just fun. So leading up to like these machines coming in here, so a lot of people who either had been like old customers left. They left because machines didn't work. They left because the place hadn't been maintained and cleaned. But when we could try to bring like this excitement to the laundromat, they're like, once your new machines are in, then we'll come and visit you. We'll come and see you. So
she's a bit of a character as well. I mean, she's our marketing director. She does a fabulous job at it. She makes it fun, right? She makes laundry fun, and a lot of customers tell us that when they come in, right?
Okay, first of all, I think you're missing a memo. Laundry is not supposed to be fun, and neither are lawyers. So what's happening here?
Hey,
what's going on?
I think I missed my calling in something else besides law. But it's funny because I do the marketing, but I have no background in marketing.
She's great at it.
I just do what is funny to me and what I think I would want to see if I were looking at an advertisement or whatever. And so I think it's one of the first posts I did was actually, I was driving back from somewhere and I just had this inspiration about folding fitted sheets, which everyone hates to do. Yes. And so I came back, and the next morning I woke my 16-year-old son up out of bed. I'm like, hold this sheet. And I said, and pretend you're trying to fold the fitted sheet. And so now he's like all groggy, the sheet's like all upside down. It's all the dogs in the picture. And I just put like these pictures up of him trying to fold the fitted sheet. And the caption was like, how do you fold a fitted sheet? There are two ways. Number one, you don't. You drop off your fitted sheets in your laundry to, our laundromat and have it done for you. And number two, follow step number one. Yeah. And then I had pictures of my son. They're all like crooked. And I did like a PS, no child actor was injured or enthusiastic while taking, this photograph. And I mean, people were just, they loved it. And I was like, I can do this. Is fun. I can do this. And so that's how we're kind of building up like our social media presence through Facebook groups and things like that. But it's just, I just try to make it fun. And my job is to want them to come here. Yeah. Right. And then it's Donnell's job to make them stay and want to come back.
Yeah, once they get here, it's my job to engage with them, to make them feel comfortable at home, especially now that the place is renovated. We have 6 TVs up, and we have just kind of like a real running, telling people who we are, our services. We introduce, our team and our staff. We introduce ourselves on there just so people have a background. And we just have some little laundry tips and things on there. But also I have music playing in the background, right? I got a business music license soundtrack. So important. It's official. That's important. It's official.
Don't play your personal Spotify account.
Don't play your personal Spotify. I've listened to some podcasts and laundromat forums. So people appreciate that when they come in the door. People are here, and I make sure I welcome them. One thing I do, which I think is important, is I remember everyone's name. When people come in the door, I think it's important to address them by their name and get to know them. People think I'm so smart that I do that. My little tip is when a person comes in the first time, I introduce myself, I know their name. When I break from the conversation, I go to my office and I put it in a notepad. And then I put something next to their name that makes me remember them. Maybe it's somebody who I went to college with, they may remind me of, or just somebody in my life. Or if it's nobody that I can associate with them in my life to make me remember their names, I'll look at their color of their car or the last 3 of their license plate number, and I'll jot it down next to their name in the notepad. And we have, 12 cameras up so I can see when people come in the parking lot and they're coming in. And I look at that, I make sure I know their name. So when they come in that door, the second time they come in the store, hey, Tara, how are you today? And stuff like that. And people are like, oh my gosh, you remember my name. How do you do that? Yeah. So, and I have almost 400 names in this notepad
yes.
of people I remember. And when they come in the door, I remember all the names, right? And then I have genuine conversation with people just to make them feel comfortable, right? Yeah. And I think like that's like one of the benefits of actually being present at your store if you can.
It's huge, yes.
Is like nobody's going to represent you like you for your business. So we always talk about that. And I think that's the most important part, because there have been times where I had to go, off, to a conference or a soccer game, and I wasn't in the store. And on a Saturday, and I'll be in the next Saturday, and my customers come up to me and say, "Oh, you weren't here last Saturday. We miss you. It's not the same when you're not here." Just because of the way I engage with them when they do come in the store. So I think that's critically important.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's huge. I mean, I don't know, I'm going to butcher the quote, but essentially the quote's something like, the sweetest word to anybody is their own name or whatever, something like that, like their favorite, I don't know, whatever. But I mean, remembering people's names is huge because it makes people feel important. It makes them feel valued. It makes them feel cared about. And it makes them feel like, man, if I go somewhere else, I'm going to be missed because he knows who I am. Right. Yes, and absolutely. I think that is huge to be able to do that. And what's interesting to me is it takes extra effort to remember everybody's name. Like you have to go and be diligent about writing down, something about them to help you remember and then to reference it. But I mean, the return on investment on doing those activities is gigantic.
It is huge because I'm not in the laundromat often. I might stop in here, I don't know, maybe a couple times a month, usually just to do some kind of decorating for a holiday. I put up things around the store. But every time I am in here, a customer comes up and it's always like, "I don't know how your husband remembers my name. Has remember everyone's name." I mean, that is the comment I get the most when I'm in here. So it really is important to them. They really are happy. It makes them feel like they're part of the family when they come in, right? So it's just, that's the way we try to create that kind of environment in the space.
And people are always watching you. Like when I'm engaging with other customers that are in the store sitting down, maybe waiting for their clothes to finish drying, they're watching me engage with other customers. And then we'll get like some 5-star review of them discussing that. Right. Oh, it's just great to see how he engages with other customers.
He really knows them.
He really knows them. Yes. So I know that because I always tell my kids, it's like, people are always watching you. So careful what you do, careful how you engage with people, because people are just watching. So you just have to be mindful of that, right? So
for sure.
And just a little bit of a side quest over here, but I mean, you guys do have, I actually, you want to know what I did when we were doing, before we hit record and we were just kind of catching up.
What'd you do?
I scanned the QR code that's sitting behind you there that leads to your review. I scanned it and I left you guys a good review. But I was noticing, like, you guys have like 120 good reviews. Speaking of which, if you're watching this on YouTube, go scan that thing. Give them a good review. Help them out. But you guys have a lot of really good reviews. So, I mean, can you talk about that? I'm assuming a lot of those weren't there when you took over, or is that
you can talk about
let me tell you, because one of the things that from listening to podcasts is that we knew we wanted to rebrand the laundromat. It used to be called Michigan Laundromat, but we rebranded it as Bubbles and Baskets Laundromat. And so when we were preparing and working on the signage and that kind of thing, I didn't want to take over. Well, let me just step back. There was a Google My Business page, and Mr. Kim had actually claimed it already. Mm-hmm. And at that point in time, there may have been about 30 reviews. I think he was somewhere in like the low 3.2 range or whatever.
Pretty typical.
Sorry?
Pretty typical for a long
time. Pretty typical for the way it had been run at that time. And so based upon listening to podcasts, I told Mr. Kim that I needed him to release the page to us when we closed, which he did. I went in, I responded to every single review. Some were from like 5 or 6 years ago. No matter what it was, I responded. I said who we are, that we took over the laundromat, that we have great things planned. If they're still in the area, we'd love to have them come in and to meet us and whatnot. So I went through every single review. And then I planned so that when we actually had our new sign, which came in, it was November.
Yeah.
So the sign came in probably mid-November. So we had all new signage. Then I closed down that page and I opened the new one, the new Google business profile under Bubbles and Baskets. And I completed all the information, all the details, the business profile, our services, who we are, that we were like we were renovating and taking over the neighborhood laundromat. And that's when we began, asking for reviews, right? But I wanted to start off fresh because I felt like if we tried to just keep taking in reviews on the old one, it would be impossible to get out people to really see what was going on. So a whole new page, began doing like Google ads and whatnot to bring in more customers.
Yeah.
And then we basically, we set ourselves up for a little competition. Not that they knew, but against the other laundromats in the area. And we just said they have X number of reviews, we want to have more.
Yeah.
And so that's when Donnell stepped in and did his, just so you know, it was November 2023 when we relaunched as Bubbles and Baskets with our new Google page. And now, 7 or 8 months later, we have 119 5-star reviews.
120, Jordan said.
Oh, yeah, Jordan. Now we're 120 now. Now we're 120. But yes, in that period of time, 120 5-star reviews.
So my statement is closed mouths don't get fed, right? So I knew we were providing a great service. Just, like I said, just following you and Dave Menz and the guidance that you guys have given us in regards to the new modernized laundromats, right? Make them clean, make people feel welcome when they come in, provide great customer service. We were doing all those things. So I had no hesitation in asking the customers for a 5-star review. I said, if it's not a 5-star review, just please, let me know what we can do to get a 5-star review. And
that's right.
And customers had no issues, right? They would immediately go and leave us a 5-star review because they saw what we have done and what we're doing. And they really appreciated that we were here in the community doing the things that we were going to do, right?
Yeah. And one of the first things that we did just in terms of renovations, aside from the machines, and Jordan, I think I sent you a link of some of the before and after pictures, was the bathroom.
Yeah.
The bathroom was like something, I don't know, in the middle of nowhere at a road stop. And I was like, if I don't want to go in there, I know that customers who are here for 2 hours doing their laundry don't want to go in there either. And we've done, because we've done a lot in real estate, we've done 24-hour renovations.
Yeah.
So I was like, I know we can knock this bathroom out in a day. That's basically what we did. So that was the first big renovation, was the bathroom. And people would come in and they were just like, my bathroom at home isn't as nice as what you've done here. Right. And for them, knowing that was the first major contribution we made to this laundromat was fixing the bathroom was huge.
It's huge.
Because that was really customer focused and customer centered. And so we began doing things like we did a holiday raffle. So we basically, we're coin operators. There's no way we can collect things. We were able to collect any information. So people would have to fill out a little form. They had their name, their cell phone number, and email. They were allowed to drop their stuff off in the bin every time they came in to do laundry or drop off laundry. We had prizes from the local jeweler, a gift certificate from there, the nail salon, the local massage therapist, gift certificates. We gave away a weekend at our Airbnb in the Hudson Valley in New York as a grand prize. So we've been doing those kinds of things for it was holidays, and then it was Valentine's Day. And people were just so, they're like, this is great. We're getting prizes to come and do laundry, right? Just making it just a fun place to be. And part of that was also collecting information. right? Finding a way, because social media is not yours.
And we had no POS yet or anything.
Yeah, so we collected information. We were beginning to build an email list for email marketing, so we can connect with people and let them know things that were going on. But folks were just so happy about what we were doing in the laundromat. And we're in a very small town. I mean, it's tiny. It's tiny. It's about 8,500 people who are in our town. But we also pull customers from 4 other towns that surround us.
Right.
So I'd say altogether, maybe that's like 50,000 people between the 5 towns, give or take 50, 60,000. But the town that we're in, it's 10 minutes away from our house. So first of all, so it is a quick ride to get here. It's just, people here have so much pride in their town, in their community, in their schools, in their homes. And so for us, that was so important because we have so much pride in the little business that we're building right here. And so we were just able to, through our marketing, through Donnell being here, just the outpouring of support and like love and just whatever it was, they had our backs.
Let's just say I'm re-energized for sure.
Yes. Yeah. So it's just so important to really, depending upon where you are, get involved in the community. Because it's fun and people are great, and we've just had like an amazing time.
That goes back to our core values, right? Customer service, cleanliness, and community.
Yeah. Can you? I was going to ask you. I wrote down to ask you about sort of those core values. Like, where did those come from? And how have you seen? I think a lot of laundromat owners don't take the time to think through core values, don't filter their decisions and their actions and all that through those core values. Can you just talk a little bit about your core values and how you utilize those with your business?
I'll take it. Okay, I'll take it. I think a lot of it stems from just who we are as people, right? And our mission in terms of getting into the business. We didn't get, it's funny because initially the idea was like, get out of the rat race, get out of corporate, all these kind of like financial goals. But then when you get here and you start interacting with customers and you see how excited they are for you to be here. Just that first week, people were excited about it being clean. I think there was one customer who dropped something on the floor. She's like, I don't even care if it fell on the floor. I know these floors are clean. So when you start to see how happy they are about coming here to do laundry, it like triggers something in you. It resonates with you. And it's the bar, unfortunately, is set just so low. What could be lower than keeping a laundromat clean? People are coming in to clean their laundry, their personal items. Like how would you let them come into a place that's not clean? So cleanliness is just, to me, it's easy. And we're in a service-based business. And I think probably because Donnell and I, our whole professional careers, we were in service-based businesses, we understand customer service. Right? We just understand that. That's what we've done. And and now we're in a position where we can provide customer service where it's actually appreciated all the time, as opposed to like, you never know with your big corporate clients, like how they'll, respond to you. And so for us, we get joy in delivering a great customer experience. We get, when we get the review, when a review comes up, and I read it, I'm just always like, I get goosebumps. I don't even know how to respond to people. I'm just so pleased and so happy that they are saying, I can't wait to get there. I can't wait to do my laundry. Or I couldn't wait to finish my laundry, to come out in the car and leave this review, right? But just by being like, simple, very like nice people. We're just kind and we're nice and we help when we can. So for us, that's the customer service part of it. And the community is what we were lacking in corporate for so long, right? And to us is that everyone who comes to the door becomes family, whether you want to be or not. I'll come in the door and I'm hugging everyone's getting a hug. I'm like, you're new, I'm Tara, let me give you a hug. Like that's just what happens here. And whether that is, customers who are actually physically in the store, or even on social media, there are so many people who support us on social media who are just like, I don't even need to go into a laundromat, but I'm coming to you to do something, just to meet you, whatever it is, right? And that's a sense of community. It's like, I always talk about what it's like Cheers, the old TV show Cheers, where everybody knows your name. Well, Donnell literally does know everyone's name. Literally. So it's that. I mean, he really. So it's that
modern
kind
day
of
Cheers. Yeah.
Yes. So it's that kind of environment, and because community is important, your business means nothing and goes nowhere unless the community is involved. If you do not have customers, you do not have a business, right? So to the extent that you can really ingrain yourself in the community, and whether it's because you choose to do the laundry cares events or free dryers or free whatever it is, or just be active in community events. Sometimes the school PTA will call us and see if we'll give a donation for something. More than happy to donate, put together, laundry goodies, whatever it is, to be part of what's going on in this town, right? Because it's just so critical to us and important to us.
I think the community one is huge for us, for the simple fact, and that's one of the reasons why we believe we're going to stay closed on Wednesdays, because there's been some debate, of course, since we finished all the renovations. It allows us to be able to do like events for the community. Like, we have a ton of customers that have, all these talents and skills. We have the local DJ, Charlie O, who actually was the one who did the music for our re-grand opening. I have another customers that's a husband and wife, and she's a jazz singer, and he plays, various instruments. They want to come in on a Wednesday and just do a 45-minute set for the community, free of charge, right? So we have so many people in the community that want to give back. And I think we have the environment to allow them to be able to do it, just because of the space we have.
The way the space is.
That we want to use Wednesdays to do that, to be more than just a laundromat. I want people to ride by here and say, wow, I went to a comedy show at Bubbles and Baskets Laundromat Wednesday, and it was fabulous. And for people to just look and say, at the laundromat?
Yeah.
So that's what we want to do. That's what we want to be known for, you know. So.
And it's fun because we're coming up with all these different ideas for the Wednesday night and what we're going to call it, right? We haven't come out, I don't know if it'll be Club Bubbles or what it will be. We haven't decided on the name for the Wednesday night events, but definitely we have a customer who's a comedian, and she actually told you that she got her start like in a laundromat.
Yeah.
I mean, so she's like, I would love to come in and do like a comedy set here. I want to really promote the arts here. So even like trying to get some local artists to come in, and maybe we do like a wine and cheese like art gallery event. They can come, they can put their art on the walls. We made the place very clean. So the only bright colors are our dryers, which you can see in our photos. Otherwise, it's like a light gray and white, very clean, to leave a backdrop for artwork to be here.
Yeah.
So they can showcase their artwork. We can have a like nice little gallery opening and leave it here to be sold. So there's just so many like ideas we have for really bringing the community in and doing just fun stuff. That's not laundry. That's not like laundry. And one of the things that we started is, it's funny. I mentioned to you before, I have this YouTube show. It's called T&T Chat from the Mat. And we have in New Jersey anyway, there's like local franchise owned digital online media sources. And it's called Tap Into each town's name. So for our town, it's called Tap Into Kenilworth. And the woman who is the like editor of the local Tap Into, her name's Talina. And she actually helped me do our holiday raffle. I caught the names and the whole thing. And we had her energy's like mine. So we had a lot of fun. It was like all right. She's all crazy and stuff and screaming. And a friend of ours was here filming us do the pulling out the names and whatnot. And my friend said, "Oh my gosh, you two should do a podcast." And I was like, there is one more thing I'm not going to do is that. So then instead, I was like, no offense. I don't need to add.
Careful. I don't know. You're on a podcast right now.
Sorry, but I was like, I'm not doing that. So I was like, I don't need anything else on my calendar. But Talina was like, why don't we just do like a little highlight show, 10, 15 minutes, and we can highlight businesses and we can highlight like individuals in town. And so it's Talina and Tara, T&T Chat from the Mat. And so on Wednesdays when we're closed, once a month, Talina and I will get together. We'll invite people from the local businesses here, and they come on. It's like a 10, 15 minute just highlight reel about their business, how they got here, how they got into the business. Sometimes they'll give away free stuff, whatever it is, but then we just edit it and we put it out to all of the local, Facebook groups and community stuff. And that's another way that we find to give back, right? To let people know about the fantastic businesses that we have located, in Kenilworth, in our town. And just letting people know, like, they're here, we're here, like, come on and visit. So.
It's really cool.
I already found it on YouTube. We'll make sure we have a link to T&T Chat from the Mat in the show notes. Actually, and just this is a good opportunity for me to say, hey, we're going to have the link for that for sure. So go check that out. But we'll also have the photos that you've been talking about a few different times, and we'll have all the links and social stuff so that you can go check out the social stuff. And then I'll also link Dave's book in case you haven't read it yet.
Great book. Great book. Yeah. Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, Dave. I've got a couple copies as well. So awesome. All right. Going back to getting this mat, like when you took over, I mean, did you feel like the picture you guys had of like how this mat was doing was accurate? It sounded like it wasn't really doing that great, but do you feel like you had an accurate picture of that or no?
We had an accurate picture of how great it was not doing. We had that. We
talked to you about this as well on one of the
one of our consulting calls, like trying to figure out the due diligence. We did the best that we could with due diligence. We got some random, electric bills, gas bills, water bills, just from whatever periods of time he chose to give us. Donnell did
do a coin count.
2 weeks of coin counts.
2 weeks of coin count.
But we also did the coin counts during the summer, which we also know traditionally it tends to be a little bit slower in the summer, so we could make up a little bit for that. He didn't show us he actually had a very small wash, dry, fold business already established here. And he established that when he first bought the place. So he didn't show us his book or anything like that. He just kind of gave us numbers. So we came in knowing that, his numbers meant nothing and that we were going to have to do a significant amount of not just the renovation work, but just branding and marketing and bringing people in and getting people to trust that this was going to be different than the way it had been for so many years.
It was pretty depressing, right? The numbers that we did get, right?
Especially with the goal of leaving your engineering job.
And I was
it made it real difficult for me to do that. I mean, that's some of the scariness behind when I did leave because of the numbers that he shared with us, during the due diligence period. But I think I go back to, saying that you have to look beyond that, because I think like for us, the location was fantastic as well. And we knew, like, because this was a zombie mat, we knew that if we do what we do, right, because we're real estate investors, we flipped a lot of houses and stuff, that we could make this place fantastic. And with our branding, we could bring people in, just based off of all the stuff that we've heard you guys, tell people over and over again, right? So we believed in that, right? So you got to have something to stand on. And I think that's what we stood on outside of the depressing numbers that we saw during due diligence, right?
And also, so Cliff, because Cliff had experience not only as a distributor, but also having run laundromats himself, he was giving us an idea. He said, these numbers right now should be at least at this. And here's where I think you could at least as a goal or where we think you should be per week. So in our mind, we're like, okay, someone who has knowledge and experience and is a professional and who has been a great mentor and guide along the way is saying X, Y, Z, and I trust in that.
Right.
And I know that what we were bringing to the table because of who we are and how we operate and how we manage so professionally our businesses and our real estate, that we could not only hit that, but exceed it. Yeah. So I always had faith in that. I just would have liked to put a little bit less in to get to that point, but I know that's not how it works. That's not how it works. Well, and I laugh because one of the primary things is lighting. Like, who wants to come into a dimly lit laundromat? Mm-hmm. And there were fluorescent lights throughout, and sort of old, like, what is that, the casing or whatever you call it, where the fluorescent lights were.
Yeah, the housing.
Yeah. And so initially, Donnell and I discussed the plan for renovations, and I was like, we can put in like LED lighting, right? Because first of all, it's, better energy efficiency and whatnot. Take out the fluorescents, put in the LED lighting.
The bulbs only.
The bulbs. And then we'll just like paint the housing and we'll be good. I come in, and how many do we have?
We have about 48 recessed lights, and then we have
48 recessed lights. 4. I'm like, what happened to the LED? He's like, no, that wouldn't have looked good. I was like, oh my
God. The executioner Wright is his own man, and he does what he wants.
Yeah, I was like, where are, rows and rows of recessed lighting, and now we have like chandeliers. It's like being in a living room, to be honest. It's completely changed.
Can't do it halfway.
But he never does stuff halfway.
Gotta do it.
He has to go all the way. So, so part of it, we also knew that some people were just waiting for this renovation before they'd even come in. So trying to take those steps to do that, to bring in more self-serve customers, even just like the wash, dry, and fold. That just blew up for us over the course of the last 8 or 9 months.
Yeah.
But it makes a difference, to customers. And so because Cliff had really given us that idea of where the numbers should at least be, we said, all right, if we can make that, we'll be okay. And then we're going to surpass that.
Yep.
Right. And take these steps to go above and beyond. And the more we deliver is the more we'll get in return.
Yep.
So
you build it and they will come.
Sometimes they come, but they've been coming.
Well, you've been doing a lot of stuff to make them. A lot of stuff on social media. And then, listen, you just can't underestimate learning people's names, being friendly, creating that good environment. I'm glad we talked about why you were closed on Wednesday, because you kind of casually dropped that a few times.
Yes.
Throughout, and I had to read it down. I was like, we got to find out why they're not going to reopen on Wednesdays. But I love I love it. That goes along with your core values and filtering decisions on how you're going to operate your business off of that. And there's a case to be made to say, hey, you know what? You're not utilizing that day it's a revenue generating day, right? Mm-hmm. But you're taking that as an opportunity to align with your core values. And guess what? That's going to pay off for you revenue. Look at Chick-fil-A, right? Sunday's got to be one of the biggest fast food days out there, and they stay closed because it aligns with their core values, and they get a lot of press for it.
Hey, look, I think the environment that we are creating here, people will make the adjustments in their schedule.
They have, and right? They have made it.
And they have made it. Yesterday, I have one of my customers that would always come here on Wednesday, and I'm always closed. And yesterday, she says she's changing her schedule so she can come on Tuesdays now. So people will make the adjustments, right? To your point, right? We just have to stay true to our core values, because I believe the Wednesday will allow us to do so much community wise. Yeah. And then I like to get out on the golf course every now and then as well, And
have a day to have a little day. And have a day.
Normally I get up at 4 a.m. when I come here, right? Because I get up, I read, I work out, and then I'm here by 6. We open at 7. Today I got up maybe at 7:30 or whatever. So this is
the first Wednesday since we took over in September that we didn't have work happening, at the laundromat. So it allowed for that. And the funny thing is, look, people, as Donnell said, people will adjust, because I know on a couple of occasions before, folks came on a Wednesday, saw we were closed, went to another laundromat and said, I'll never do that again. Right? Like, we're not making that mistake ever again. Yeah. Right? And so, and just because, I mean, there's probably 4 other laundromats within like the 5-town area I was talking about. We live close, so we're familiar with all of them. So, the goal for us is we don't believe like in competition. I joked about competing about reviews, but honestly, there's enough out here for everyone, right? And I truly believe that if you have the abundance mindset and you're willing to work with people and just stay in your lane and do the best that you can do for your community, it all comes back to you. And what you're meant to have, you will have.
Absolutely.
I mean, even a young man and his wife took over a laundromat a town over, and he came in one day, and he and I were I'm like, we have to go out to dinner with my husband and your wife and talk more about the industry and what you're doing. And we asked each other questions, and he asked me questions about what we've done. So we're like totally open to all of that.
Yeah, I'm willing to share anything, to a certain extent.
some trade secrets.
Like, if you think about it, right? We got inspired from one of the laundromats around here to open up this, right?
Yes.
So, without them even knowing it, right?
Right.
So, if we can help somebody else get further, then we're gonna do it, right?
And in the meantime, just sticking to what we know is important for us to have within our business and for our community.
Yeah, I always say, like, you do good in the universe, and the universe will take care of you, right?
100%. 100%. So.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that mindset. I think that is, we need more of that in our industry. And I mean, it's really, when it comes down to it, that is the core of this podcast, right? Is, hey, let's get on here and let's share what we're doing that's working, and our stories and the journeys that we took to get there and the lessons we learned along the way, right? That's what it comes down to.
Hey, look, I don't think Tara and I will be where we are without like listening to you and Dave Mins and all the other people that you've had on the podcast sharing their stories, right? It just helped us get a good frame of mind and to have a basis.
From the minute we came in, we were like off, and we had a plan from the time we came in to what we had to do to execute to become a modern neighborhood laundromat. Yeah. Right. And I'm proud of what we've done here. I'm proud of the renovations. The place is just beautiful to me. I'm happy to come in here. Before I was like, no, Donna, you can go in. You can go in there. It's kind of like sad.
She's always sending me into dingy basements from all the flips. I fell through a bunch of floors for her.
Yes, he did. Our real estate stuff, I'm like, I don't do basements. It's like dark down there. You go. It's a place we're really proud of, and the community's so happy that we're here, and we just do whatever the best is that we can. So
I love that. Well, I want to chat real quick before we jump into our next segment. I want to touch on, I know, when did you take over this laundromat again?
September 20th, 2023.
Okay, September. So by March, when we had a call earlier this year, you had doubled your drop-off service.
Yes.
So I want to hear a little bit about that. And then also, if you can touch on pricing, because we had conversations about pricing, and I think I wrote down, you guys were at $1.07 a pound.
We were.
So, and talk to us just a little bit about that journey.
Yeah. So Donnell can talk about sort of the logistics and operations, but when we first took over, I think the wash, dry, fold may have made up about 25% of the revenues at that time. Now it's about almost 50% of revenues. And we had, we always understood, I always looked at self-serve as being your bread and butter. Like self-serve can come and can pay the bills, but to really start to accelerate financially, it was the wash, dry, and fold, and eventually would be pickup and delivery. So that was a real key aspect of what we did coming in, was to really try to drive wash, dry, fold, and let people know that it existed. I mean, look, what is it? 7 years ago, I didn't know what wash, dry, fold was. I just happened to drive past this laundromat and saw it, and it literally changed our lives in terms of our home lives, not having to do laundry all the time. So trying to get the message out to people. And so I started just doing these fun little posts about drop off laundry in each of the local Facebook groups, on social media. And people began coming in. And then, I mean, Donnell can tell you more about how he's converted self-serve customers to wash, dry, fold customers, which is just genius. They're already here, they're captive. What can you do to try to bring them in? So you can talk more about the logistics and operations side of it.
Yeah, but from a revenue standpoint, 25% more.
Oh, so so I would say, let's see, oh my goodness. So our first month of business, what I calculated, we probably made about revenues was about $9,500 in revenues our first month. 25% of that was wash, dry, fold. And our last full month, so not May, but April, our revenues were a little over 18,000. And then about I think I have 46% of that was wash, dry, fold. So, I mean, it's just been, it was such a significant jump that we had to hire more people.
We started with, Amalia, our senior garment care specialist, came over with the purchase. She had worked with Mr. Kim for 15 years and she's phenomenal.
Oh my gosh.
In December, we saw that we needed help. So we brought on Cindy, who's been great as well. And then it got to a point where they were doing so much wash, dry, fold. And we have a very strenuous cleaning process, was taking 2+ hours to clean. So we brought on another person, Denia, who's been just fantastic as well. So we have 3 attendants now, right, just to support that wash, dry, fold business, right, and to keep the store clean. Right?
Yeah, because so that was the one thing, is that prior to us coming in, there were no true cleaning protocols in place. And I laugh. I'm like, my husband's a bit OCD, which is either great for this industry or terrible for this industry, because he is just a nut. And so it's 2 hours to clean our store, every soap dish, wiping, everything that gets done here. But when the wash, dry, folds have picked up so much, the tenants were like, we're leaving here at midnight. We can't get through everything. I said, well, that can't happen. And so bringing Dinny in initially, when she came in earlier this year, it was to come in the late afternoons and help with the cleaning. But then we're we have another body. She can also learn how to do the wash, dry, and fold business. And so she's just sort of seamlessly moved into that area as well. So I think it's been critical for us, because we haven't done, we've only done social media. I do Google ads for wash, dry, and fold, and for drop up, as well as for self-serve to bring people in. And I always, whenever Donnell says, oh, we got a new drop off customer today, I'm where do they come from? What town? How do they find? I want to know, because it's kind of hard sometimes to get feedback on conversions. Who's coming in, who's not coming in. So
and converting self-serve to wash, dry, fold it's not all the time. It's just I've gotten people to understand you don't have to use the wash, dry, fold service all the time. But let's just say you wanted to take your wife out to dinner, or you guys just came back from a vacation or going to a vacation, you don't have time to wash all those clothes, just bring them to us. Especially if you're going on vacation, drop the clothes off. We know you got 10,000 things you got to do before you go on vacation. Drop them off with us. They'll come back smelling good, folded nicely. You could just put them right into your suitcase. So I've been just having those regular conversations with the self-serve customers, and they've been eating it up, and they've been coming in and dropping off. They've been oh, you're right. I save so much time. I have some that just, they don't come in anymore, and I actually miss them. I'm
You're now we're done.
You come in every Sunday. You got to come back and hang out with me.
Just come hang out while we do your laundry.
Yeah, absolutely right. I know. I'm she's no longer a self-serve. And I was nope. She gave that up months ago.
Come on.
So yeah. And that's one of the things I try to focus on, because everyone's oh, I have a washer dryer at home. I don't need a laundromat. I said, but you may have that weekend. We had a point in time where we had 3 kids all in some activity or sports. Your weekends get crazy.
Yeah.
I might say, if you just need a catch up day, drop it off here or come use our commercial machines. Because what I do know is when you have that much laundry and 2+ kids, you are in your little residential machine, you are doing all day for days.
Yeah.
All day for days. I'm like, come in here, throw it in our 60s, get caught up in 2 hours and like be back home and call it a day.
And God forbid you forget it in the wash, you got to rewash it because it's stale, right? So,
oh my gosh.
People
been talking to my wife.
No, it's always to me. It's always, I'm like, I forgot again to do the dryer.
So we've been pitching that as well, just for the convenience. Yeah, great. You have the wash and dry at home. You got 3 or 4 kids at home. It's going to take you days and days to get the laundry done. You come here, 2 hours, you're done.
Yep. Boom. 2 hours done, dried, folded, and now you've gotten your life back. And we had many customers who the washing machine or dryer broke. Yeah. And it was taking forever to get it back. And they were like, I don't know if we want to get ours back. We come in here on a Sunday and we're done in a couple hours, a whole week's worth of laundry. Mm-hmm. So I think just getting that message out, letting people know it's not just folks who don't, have a machine at home or whatnot can still use the service. I think it just paid off for us in dividends. And then people tell other people. Right.
Grassroots.
Grassroots, a lot of word of mouth, right? In terms of coming in here and even just doing your comforters yourselves or whatever. So.
Well, can you talk about pricing and your thought process and what you did with that and kind of, briefly,
I think you talked about, we had a call with you. We were originally at like $1.07 for our wash, dry, fold. That business was picking up and we know we needed to hire. And, my wife is always on my back about, what I'm spending and what we're bringing in.
That does not sound like her at all.
Not at all.
Yeah. And we had a call with you and I think you have some form where you can put in all your information to get to a point where what you should be charging for wash, dry, fold. And we did that, but we wanted to make sure we were spot on with it. So we had the call with you and you kind of took us through that and we came to a number. I think we came to like $1.46 per pound just based off things we were doing. And we bumped that up another 10 cents, right? Because like what we do with our wash, dry, fold service, I think sets us apart from others, right? We get clothes in, we sort them, we stain treat, we separate, the darks from the white clothes and stuff like that. Anything in your pockets, we put into a bag and we return to them. And we hang, button up shirts and slacks. We don't upcharge to do that, right? And we use premium products and stuff. So, and I don't want to go from that. And I don't want to upcharge. I know others do that, which is great, but that's just not the way we want to run our business. So I said we need to get to a price point to help us cover all the things that we're doing. At first, we felt a little guilty to go from the $1.07 to the $1.50. But
and just let me explain the $1.07. That sounds crazy. Like why should it be $1.07? It was the way it was $1.50 for the first 10 pounds, and then $1 per pound thereafter. So it basically averaged to $1.07. That's
the more you brought, the cheaper it got.
Yeah, which
was like kind of crazy, right? So it wasn't until I actually washed some clothes myself, right? Physically do some wash and fold. I was like, man, this is not easy. Like that's what got me to the point where I didn't feel guilty about charging $1.50, right? And I was like, nope, we're doing it. I spent like all day washing clothes because we had so much and just it's not easy, right? So just me physically doing that got me to be comfortable to say, because Tara was still at $1.40 and she was like, oh, I know Jordan said $1.40, but should we really do that? I was like, after I did that, like a couple of days of I said, nope, we're not doing $1.40, we're doing $1.50. And I was comfortable with it, right? Yeah. And we had a few customers that was a little uncomfortable with the price change, but that's okay, right? And I maybe lost one or two, but we've gained so many more customers. And then I just explain like the process we do with their wash, dry, fold, and people love it, right? So we're okay. So for those of you who are considering a price change and you might be feeling a little guilty, like I was feeling and like Tara was feeling, don't. If you know you're providing a great service, like, Jordan, you and Dave have said in the past many times, then don't feel guilty about what you're providing to people. Just, you want to continue to provide that service, and you got to get paid for it. So don't feel guilty.
You can only provide that quality service if you're getting paid for it, because it's also payroll expenses. It's everything.
The soaps, the payroll,
everything. So you have to be able to provide for your employees, for your business, and be able to make some money on the back end of it all. Yeah,
and I also been creating different categories now that we have a POS system.
Yes.
Like a person brought in like a bag of socks. It was like so many socks. And socks are light. So we weighed them, and I actually lost money during the socks because we had to pair up all the socks. So now I have a price. I have a price per pound just for socks. I think it's like $2.25 or whatever, because it took my attendant like forever to fold the socks. And I did the calculation. I was like, wow, we lost money on that. And people bring in curtains now. I brought like a commercial steamer. Like we charge a separate price to do like drapes and curtains and stuff like that, because we hang all those stuff, right? So I've been playing around with just like customized like pricing for like patio cushion covers for the summertime, right? So I've created a whole pricing for that, right? So we've just been having a little bit of fun with it. And
you don't know until they come in and bring something new to you, like what you're going to try. You're like, okay, let me figure this out now. And then figure out pricing for it going forward. So you may take the loss that first time, but then now you can, with the experience, you can figure it out and, go forward. And then we just last month launched pickup and delivery.
Right. But before we go there, I want to say like my attendants now know like, the $150 per pound is for clothes, bed sheets, and towels. Anything outside of that, if I don't have a line item for it, and if I'm not in the store, call me.
Yes.
Because it's a different price.
Whatever it's going to be, it's going to be different.
It's going to be different.
Yeah, for sure.
For
sure. Yeah. Because you get unusual things, unusual items that come into you. So, let me launch pickup and delivery. Donnell is currently our driver. We did it locally first within our town to get a sense of what it's going to be like. And now we've expanded to the other towns in the vicinity. I've just barely began advertising that. I haven't really gone like in depth in it yet. But we charge $1.75 for pickup and delivery.
Right.
So we're hoping to really just sort of build that out as something that we can see going towards the summertime when it might get quieter with self-serve. We also have this other product offering, service offering. Yeah,
and I just brought a van 3 weeks ago, which Tara didn't want me to do, which I did anyway.
I was like, you have a big truck, just get some the magnets to put on the side with Bubbles and Baskets and go. He's like, I'm buying a truck.
I picked up like 150 pounds of restaurant napkins, and my truck smelled like food for 2 days. And I was like,
we're not doing this.
Not doing that.
It's all good. All good.
I love it. Well, that's awesome. I mean, that just means we're going to have you back on to hear how the pickup and delivery grows over time. Pretty cool. Well, okay, listen, I feel like we could just keep talking about laundry.
Sorry, yes.
No, it's great. I'm loving every second because I think what I'm loving about this is, I mean, obviously you guys are hilarious and just super easy to listen to and talk to, but your stories are very interesting. You have done what so many people are trying to do, which is trying to have an opportunity to leave their 9 to 5 and build something for themselves, which is what you guys are doing, which is super inspiring. And then just in the way that you guys are talking, you're just sharing like gold, just in the middle of these stories, right? There's just so many like practical things. So I'm loving every second of it. But here's what I want to do. I want to do something a little bit different than I normally do. But I mean, in the same vein, but normally we have a few different segments. I'm going to collapse them down into one segment called Pro Tips.
Okay.
There it is. I always hit the wrong one. Pro Tips. And because before we hit record, Donnell said, I have a bunch of tips and I've categorized them. So let's just go through your categories.
That's the engineering.
Typical engineer, I know, in engineering fashion.
Categorizing his tips.
So he's got a list of tips and he's categorized them all. And I want to hear every single one of them. So let's jump into that right now.
All right. Yeah. So I broke pro tips down to 3 categories. The first pro tip category is team, right? So I would say, like, because we've expanded our team from 1 to 3 in the space of 8 months.
Yeah.
I would just say you got to be patient, understanding with your team and treat them like family. Let them know you really appreciate their hard work, celebrate their special moment. And what I mean by that is, like, a birthday is coming up, like we just had one of our attendants, Cindy, had a birthday a couple weeks ago. It was nothing for us to go get a cake and some balloons and, come in here in a laundromat on a Saturday, walking in with a cake and some candles and singing happy birthday to her and with the other attendants. And she just loved that with flowers and stuff. So, the way Tara and I are, we feel as though, like, the team is, like, so important for our business. We couldn't have the successes that we have with Wash Dry Fold without them doing all the hard work that they do. So they need to know that we care. They need to know that we genuinely care about that, right? And like I have some attendants that are great and experts and fold quickly. I have some that's a little bit slower to do it. But I know, like, if you show them genuine care and appreciation over time, they're going to get better. Mm-hmm. Everybody learns at a different pace. And I know I do, right? It takes me forever to learn something. But once I get it, I got it, right? Mm-hmm. Tara, she learns much quicker than me. She gets something and she's gone. You probably got a sense of that doing the whole podcast and stuff. But she's really introverted, but you couldn't tell that during this session. So that's a pro tip that, I think is important, right? And provide your team with a guidebook, right? So we've created like a guidebook, and I know, Jordan, you guys have some resources. Dave Mins has some resources and stuff, and we probably use and took from that. I've created a guidebook for them, so they have to understand what we're expecting from a cleanliness for the store, as well as their engagement with customer service. So we go over that. And then I do like a Saturday memo to them, just like reiterating those tips, like cleanliness and customer service to them. I do that like every week. I'll send it out, a little funny thing to them, just so that they know, right? So that's the team pro tips. The customer pro tips, we probably talked about a little bit of these during the session, is like, be present, if you can, at your laundromat in the beginning, get to know your customers, right? I know some people don't have the time to do that, because I know a lot of laundromat owners that own a laundromat, maybe they still work. I understand it. But even with that, if you can maybe make some time available, like on a weekend, on a Saturday, just to make it a point to go into your store, just to genuinely have conversations with your customers, get to know their names, maybe buy some Dunkin' Donuts or have some donuts and coffee in there. That would be great. I know we do that as well. I think that's critically important, and it's going to pay dividends that you don't even know. I gave the tip about get to know your customer's name, and the way that I do it, I just use my notepad on my iPhone. And every time a new customer comes in, I'll put their name in there, and I'll do some little association to help me remember their name. The next time they come back, I'll see them in the parking lot. I'll see them come into the door. I'll quickly look at my notepad, do the reference, and then I'll greet them as they come in the door with their name. Again, that pays dividends. So if you could take some time to do that, I highly recommend doing that. Take time to have genuine conversations with your customers as they come in the store. Get to know them, right? And people can sense like when you're genuine and when you're not, right? Right. So I've been working in sales for over 20 years, and I've read a ton of books that kind of help me develop, the way I approach doing that. But it really helps. Just the smallest conversation, like if they have kids, talk about what sports their kids are in. And remember that if maybe a birthday party they have for their kids, they tell you that one day they were in, they come back next week, you ask them, how was the birthday party? Just little things like that. And now they know that you genuinely care about them, right? Again, pays dividends. detergent. Like some customers come in like that are regulars. Sometimes they forget their detergent. I give them, detergent. Like I know they always come in, they have their own. Maybe sometimes they forgot it. And I'm like, no, you don't need to buy it. Or they run out.
It's like, you're not going to buy one.
I sell it here. I said, no, you don't need to buy it. I just give them detergent or fabric softener. Just, that just kind of shows the genuineness, right? So I think that goes a long way as well. Give customers a helping hand. So customers come in, whether they self-serve or wash by full customers, I always make it a point to help them to their cars with the bags that they have. Even self-serve customers, if they have a ton of laundry, I'll help them out to their car, see if they need help. Or if I'm in the front of the store and I see somebody coming in the door
struggling,
you make it a point to go and open the door for them and help them position their laundry in front of the machines that they're going to use, right? And my attendants know the same thing. They do the same thing because I want to show people that we genuinely care, right? I'm sorry? Cleanliness, yes. Daily cleaning practices. So every night we clean soap dishes. We clean the leftover soap that's in there, the leftover softener that's in there. We wipe down the machine to its entirety. We wipe off the top of the machines. We clean out the dryer lint trays. We vacuum and mop the floors, and we clean the bathroom. And wipe off the chairs and tables. So every night that gets done. I think that's critically important for when you come in the store the next day. It should be clean. Yeah. And then on Saturdays we do a deep cleaning of the machine soap dishes with the disinfectant, toothbrushes and stuff. And then we also use a steam cleaner just to make sure that anything lurking between the crevices and cracks, that we get those every week. So those are just some pro tips that we live by, and that's helped us become who we are. Yeah. So. Yep.
Agreed. I agree with that message.
Yeah, you approve it. Standard approval.
I approve that message.
Yeah. No, I mean, that was awesome. Hey, thank you for sharing that, and even kind of just breaking it down into categories, because I think, it's easy to talk about a lot of like the big picture stuff, but like some of these details, it's hard to do that on a podcast when you're talking about your story and stuff like that, but just taking the time, and I appreciate you putting in some prep work on this actually, and taking the time to actually think of some just practical tips and categorizing them and sharing them out there. Cause I think that is helpful, especially for people who are either currently running laundromats that could use a boost in their team, or, a boost in their customer service, or, some cleanliness. But also for the people who are getting started and thinking about what their own laundromat is going to be like when they get it. So huge there.
That's how we took the pro tips we learned, is we came in having them already written down based upon listening to the podcast, and then just executing on that as soon as we could. Yeah. So it really is huge. Yeah.
Well, listen, this has been incredible. I like I said, this is a long time coming. This is probably, if not one of the most anticipated podcast interviews for me.
2 years
I know. Well, it's just been so cool to hear and be a small part of that journey, and just to kind of watch you guys go through the process and feeling some of your frustrations with getting that location, and trying to figure out how you're gonna make everything work for yourselves and realize that goal of leaving your job, right? So it's been very cool to see you doing that, and this is an awesome interview. So I appreciate you guys taking the time on your Wednesday day off, and
my day off.
You're giving back over here and coming on the show and sharing your story. The last question I have for you is, if people want to connect with you guys, what is the best way for them to, if they have questions, or they just are digging your vibe, or maybe they have a similar goal to you, what's the best way they can connect with you guys?
So we are on Facebook and on Instagram. Our handle is Bubbles and Baskets Laundromat. And I am on top of everything on the socials. So you send me a message, I'm going to receive it. I'm going to respond, and we can take it offline or whatever we need to do. But that definitely is the best way to reach us. So Facebook, Instagram, Bubbles and Baskets Laundromat.
Awesome. And again, we'll have links to all that stuff in the show notes. If you're on YouTube, down below. And if you're on YouTube, click on over to that link so you can get the chat from the mat over there and go check that out too.
Thank you.
Guys, you guys are awesome. Cannot wait to hear sort of the continuation of your guys' story. Keep killing it over there, serving your customers well, creating an amazing team over there, and cleaning up the place. Keep it sparkling, man. Keep it sparkling.
It's like an honor and pleasure to be here. We're so excited. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Anytime. You guys are welcome here anytime you want to be here, and looking forward to maybe hopefully someday heading over there and seeing you guys in your laundromat in person.
That would be great.
You to come over here to the Beast Coast, huh?
If I have to.
I know.
Well, I guess that's a great mic drop for you to just end this thing up. So I appreciate you guys representing the Beast Coast over there. I'm over here in the West Coast, and we'll see you guys soon.
Take care.
Take care.
All right. Hope you loved that episode with Tara and Donnell. Huge shout out to them. Thank you for coming on the show, sharing your story, sharing so much wisdom. A lot of fun and a lot of really good stuff in there. As always, it's so cool hearing people's stories, hearing the things that other people are doing, but the things other people are doing are not going to help you achieve your goals. You've got to be doing some stuff too to move toward your goals. So pick something out of this episode, put it into action this week, and move yourself towards your goals, just like Tara and Donnell are with their goals. Awesome. Awesome. All right, guys, we'll see you next week in next week's episode. Peace.